welcome to a reality NSFW. We are talking season 41, episode number 5. This is the Deep Dive podcast. I am your host, Lauren Pratt, along with my co-host, Alex Rubino.
Yes, and today I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming in a special guest. She played about a year and a half. Oh, wait, actually, it was 2 years ago. Wow. 2 years ago on season 39, Island of the Idols. She was, in my opinion, probably the shining star of the whole season. It is none other than the one, the only Janet Carbin. Janet, how are you?
I am excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk about what's going on. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of feelings, and I'm ready to go.
Let's start there. What were your overall thoughts on the episode and maybe the season as a whole?
Well, I think the episode's great because now we're starting to really see a lot more of these characters, and that's giving us a lot more of a view of who they are. What's interesting for me, because after my season, I had Winners at War. So we all knew the people and that kind of thing. So that was a whole different thing. This is the first season for me that is pure Survivor, newbies and things of that. And I'm watching and I'm going, no, haven't you watched any other seasons? Don't do that. But at the same time, I am seeing some things that I think are really positive, where I do think some of these people have seen some of the past seasons. I'm seeing, even though it's unfortunate what happened to Jeannie, I'm seeing women step up into roles that are not traditional roles. I mean, when I went on to my season, that was my thing. I was going to be a provider. I wasn't going to stay in the camp. And I'm seeing a lot of these other women start to take on those non-traditional roles.
I think it's something almost a continuation from your season. We saw that a lot. I mean, obviously you're a prime example, but like you, Kelly, like Karishma, you're just killing it. And I mean, unfortunately, you're maybe too good in it. And don't let me forget Lauren as well. That you just didn't win because I think you all realized how good you each other were at the game. And I can keep going, but yeah. What are your? I mean, I've heard a lot of people saying there are too many twists, there are too many advantages, and we've seen it maybe die down a little the last 2 episodes. But what are your thoughts on that?
I probably am not going to be the popular opinion here. What I see going on is an accelerated game. We would have certain times where we would have 3 days downtime, and then we would have something. And this was in the beginning, and a lot of your social relationships were being built. That's accelerated. So those relationships are happening, but the game is happening along with it in a faster pace. As far as the new twists and turns, I'll be honest with you, I like them. I like them losing Flint. If they lose something, I like it. And if they're not forward thinking enough, unless there's something that's happening that we don't know about, throw a freaking tree in fire before you go. Make sure there's an ember burning when you get back. I don't know. They might be doing that. We don't know. So, but I like the losing of the Flint because it takes away a lot of the gameplay.
I'm loving these takes. Yes. I know. I'm extremely high on the season. I love it. And just going back to what you were saying about just all the strong women that we're seeing, it's been incredible thus far. The cast overall is just, such a surprise because we haven't had anything like this before. And I am totally on board with everything. It's been fantastic. But even so, what you're saying, throw a freaking tree in the fire. I think that's great. If they would think that through, that would be something they need to, somewhat process.
I know on my season, I made a suggestion one time. I said, listen, if we get the fire going, we're going to have our rice or whatever we're having tonight. Let's throw another pot on. So it'll be cold, but it'll be cooked. Well, the first morning we couldn't get it going because everybody wanted hot rice. I said, let's rethink that idea. So there was always a pot. There was always food. It may be cold, but there was food. It's just thinking ahead a little bit. And that's what I'm seeing from some of these. That's where the value of some of these older players come in. If you're a parent and you've had kids, you're thinking that way. But that also could be a stumbling block.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you really got to watch that. Don't play mom. You know, don't do that.
Well, we saw with Jeannie when she was blindsided, she said, I don't give a crap about any of these people anymore. Like, they can take care of themselves. I'm not watching over them. I'm doing me. I'm going to feed me, and they can take care of themselves.
But I think it was too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She needed to do that earlier. And that was something when I went to Island of the Idols and met with Boston Rob and Sandra, I was talking about, you know, I'm the fire queen, blah, 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 blah. You know, they know it, they kind of knew that already. And then at one point, Boston Rob said to me, don't start a fire. Let them go hungry and cold. And I thought about that. I should have done that. But you know what I'm saying? Looking back, I mean, if I ever go back on the island again, it's with a whole different set of goggles. You know, it's really interesting.
And you would go back if they asked, right?
Of course.
All right.
We're all crazy.
I mean, most of you are. When I've got that's good to know.
I think you have to be.
Yeah. But right at the beginning of the episode, you mentioned Jeannie. I think it's a great point to start. So she finds Brad's beware advantage, and it's the whole say the stupid phrase, and if all three people say, you get the idol. But what I found so interesting was Jeannie finding it and telling Ricard and Shan, which I don't know. Yeah, I don't think let's start there. I imagine you wouldn't have done the same thing.
Okay. Here's what I saw happening. Did I cut you off?
No, you're good. No. Go for it. No, go for it.
You know, and that's where everybody was talking about loyalty versus strategic. That's where Jeannie, that was kind of like my downfall with Tommy. I wanted to do it. I should have cut him one person earlier. My feelings. I saw it happening with Jeannie. She thought she had it in, and if she had found that, she should have put it in her pocket and said she never found it. And to go back and announce to everybody that she had it, that was it. As soon as she did that. And I thought what Ricard did was brilliant, by the way.
Oh.
And he orchestrated that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he got her to say the phrase. He kept himself out of the limelight. No blood on him, and he got everything he wanted.
Yeah, I think
and that's the thing that's been cool to see with these advantages, because different people have worked together to make it all work. And the thing that's crazy to me is so many people know, like Xander, everyone on his tribe knows he has something now. And then Ricard knows about Shan, and Jeannie would know the same thing. So the blue tribe, Nasir might be okay, because I don't think anyone on the blue tribe has a single clue what's going on. Because if I keep hearing these phrases being said, I'm going to be sitting there like, what's happening? On? But we never see a confessional from Luvu with anyone saying anything about it.
Yeah, I know.
I think what was so interesting, I think, with the whole plan is that we saw the genius, I think, of both Shan and Ricard. Because Shan was the one who brought up, why don't we pretend to leave it so that we can get it? And then I think Ricard's wheels start turning. I love him doing all of this and tricking Jeannie and all this, because in a way, if it ever came out, he would be the one who looks like the bad guy, because it was he's the one who said, "Oh, let's put this bracelet in the advantage," and then told Jeannie, "Oh, we're not opening it," and all that. And then Shan's the one saying the phrase, and it's like, "Oh, wait, no, Ricard, you played me," and then
absolutely
Jeannie would be forced to be like, "Shan, we have to work together. Even though you're the one who really played me, I need to work with you." And I think that's also the brilliance of Shan's game. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. They both impressed me. I don't know. To me, it felt a little unnecessary, a little bit, but I enjoyed it. Just as a fan, I was like, this is fun. As a player, it was like, do we really need all of this? But I don't know.
You do.
Yeah.
As a player, you're trying to do everything you can. I thought it was genius how Ricard puppeteered that whole thing.
Oh, I agree. My only concern was that it might give Shan the idea of hey, this guy's even smarter and might want to get rid of him. But
not going to happen not with two people on the island left, because their bond is going to grow really strong.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the person who can emotionally reset.
Yeah.
And I think Ricard is closer to being able to do that than Shan.
So my question is, do you think, obviously, we don't actually know what's going to happen next week.
Right.
It's going to be some type of shakeup. I don't think it's a merge because Jeff kind of had a pause with that there. So in terms of Shan and Ricard, my thing is, who do you think would actually make the initial push to get the other one out first?
Ooh.
Ricard.
I'm the opposite, actually.
I think Ricard, because he knows she's going to start trying to work against him. I think he knows she's going to be, but then again, he could use her as a shield.
Yeah. I think they both could use each other as a shield because you're at a tribe of 2. You could almost have Luvu be the big bad target of 6 people. It's like, all right, let's forget about them. Right. But I do think we could see something at the point of almost like Millennials Gen X when you had Zeke and David being the power players just targeting each other. And I think Shan and Ricard, if they're not careful enough, they could do that because they both know how good the other one is. Everybody else is going to know how good they are because they're the final 2 of a tribe of 6. And it's like, why don't we just have these 2 fight against each other? Because they know they can't take each other to the end. I'm just curious how early they do that.
I think Shan is going to be more annoying than Ricard. I think he'll be quieter, where she's going to go in and people are going to put up defenses. Because she's going to go in and try and make alliances. She's going to go in and try, because she's coming from a power position.
For sure.
She's walking in with all this stuff. Yeah. And she's not. She's on the bottom.
Well, Jeannie made an interesting point, though, at Tribal Council, where I think Ricard probably was processing that, where Jeannie said, Shan's going to be able to go and make these connections with other people, which we do see with Lyanna. So, I mean, it's honestly a toss-up, in my opinion, about both of them, because I think Shan will do a better job at making connections with people from different tribes. But I also think Ricard is so strategic that he's going to know, all right, maybe I can pull in numbers and say, listen, she's able to connect with this person in an instant. Look what she can do with everyone else that's in this group.
My one question is, even look at all the 4 tribal councils they've had. Ricard's name has at least been brought up or been voted by somebody every single time. When was Shan's name brought up? The one time by Brad at the beginning when he was really against Ricard. I think Ricard is, almost. I mean, Shan might be a little bit more overt, but I think Ricard has maybe a little less patience or like gravitas, because he's the one who, at least out of the 2 of them, has been more out there and had his name in people's mouths. Whereas, like, yeah, Shan might be like the one in power and everybody kind of knows it, but none of them are saying, let's get rid of Shan. The only time Jeannie thought of it was kind of to talk to Ricard, and that was even fake because she wanted him out the whole time.
That's true. But the other thing is the boys from the other tribes are starting to worry about the number of boys left. So they could pull Ricard in to something else. It could be right for the pickings.
This is why I'm enjoying this season
is so interesting
much, because it's so unpredictable. Like, some season you can predict, okay, I think this person's gonna win. I have no idea who's gonna win the season because it could be anybody at this point, and that's why it's so exciting to me as a viewer.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting they let them get down to 2 and 3 in their tribe.
Yes, and this is proof. I just hope that production realizes, hey, these small dynamics are so interesting. This is why we can have Tribal Council at Final 4, and we don't need the fire making. And we can even have it at Final 3. This is so engaging. And you just have people playing the game. None of the advantages have been played yet. And it's still so interesting just by having some of them there as a potential threat to you.
I agree.
And I almost feel like Jeff and production designers, maybe, I don't know if you feel differently, Janet, are like looking just for the wow factor of the, blindside, look, this thing was played, this shiny thing was activated.
Well, they are. They're trying to sell a TV show because prior to the season, when Jeff was like, this is gonna be a monster and there's all these twists and there's from a player's perspective, from the audience perspective that maybe doesn't know Survivor that well, or whatever, maybe that's like, I get it. but as somebody who lived it, I don't see a lot different. You know what I mean? Except, as far as living conditions and things like that. Now, the people that are screwed are the people that are on the island that I call Lyro. Here, I'll tell you. Let me see.
That's
It
awesome.
is Evie's tribe.
Yasa.
You think they're screwed?
There's no food on that island. There's that's the best island for fires because of the cover, and you get the best wood. But they have these little walnut things where you can pound them open and you get this little sliver, and there's protein in that. But that island, it's even hard to find coconuts. The other islands have more food. They have breadfruit and some other things, but they're screwed.
This is interesting. This is what we like to hear because they've been in Fiji for so long filming these seasons. So my question is, how is it getting replenished? Because obviously you're not going to be able to get rid of everything, but as you just said, they're screwed on that beach because there's not enough food, but the other beaches are okay.
There's more, it's different vegetation. It's different fishing conditions. Now, the fish that I was able to spear was on that island, was on their island. I was not able to spear fish on the other islands because of the makeup of the bottom, but I also fished. You'd have to look in the extra scene. That's where they showed it. That was one of my proudest moments, by the way. I think I was the first female to spear a fish. I'm not positive, but I think so.
I think Sydney learned from you.
It was one of my goals to spear a fish. It was cool. So anyway, so that island, and it does have crabs, but you really have to know how to catch them.
Okay.
So what's the best way to catch crabs?
Yes.
Oh my God. We laughed so hard, actually. I mean, we would dive on top of them, try and swoosh them all into some sort of a net. Oh my God. You were just... Oh, it was funny. We laughed so hard, crawling into crevices, and one person would scare them to the other people, and we'd smash them with our hands and bandanas. And it was funny. All right. We had a hot beverage. We made crab shell soup, and I felt like I was drinking out of a coconut, having a hot beverage. I felt like a queen.
I love it. But so that gets me thinking a little bit about Luvu. And once again, we see Danny and Deshawn thinking, should we throw the challenge? I'm wondering, one, what's your philosophy on throwing a challenge in general? Should they have done it in this instance? And did you guys consider doing it on any of your tribes?
It was actually a big fight. And I think it's a big fight on all seasons.
Really?
And I'm hoping that's why I think they're taking flints and things like that, because they're trying to eliminate that. There were times when we were talking about, we wanted Tommy to throw a reward so we could get fed when he was on the other tribe, so he could show us loyalty. So when we got to the merge, we knew he was with us. So there's things like that kind of gameplay that goes on all the time. You kind of do these secret messages to see if you still have allies on the other tribes when you get to the challenges.
Did you consider, like, in either your original tribe or your swap tribe, throwing an immunity challenge to go to tribal and vote somebody out?
It was a thought briefly, and Jamal never wanted to throw challenges. And I agree. To me, I'm too much of a competitor to throw a challenge. But I know that gameplay, some people think logically, where I feel like let the chips fall where they may, because that's gameplay. Not that it's the best thinking all the time, but it's my way of thinking.
Yes, you remind me of the thought process that Danny was going through, where Danny's such a huge competitor, where he's saying to himself, I just can't do this. Like, that's so hard for me to do. And I think you were probably thinking that as well when it was brought up to you, hey, should we throw this? Should we not?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I will say this. In the individual challenges where we were individually, there were a lot of challenges that I just dropped halfway through. I knew I wasn't going to win it. I knew I could do better, but I didn't want to injure myself or take too many calories if I knew I wasn't going to win it. There were two that I thought I really had in the bag, and I went for it. I guess that's my point. there was other ones where I just made sure I was respectful because I wanted to prove I was an athlete, and it was never a question whether I would compete or not, and I was happy about that. So that's why I made sure I performed well, but sometimes would drop if I knew I couldn't win it.
Did you also do that as well because you didn't want to come across as like super threatening in the individual portion of the game where people could say, hey, she's winning these individual immunities. Why don't we just get rid of her now?
That was also part of it because there were some very strong athletic females in my season. Oh, yeah. And I would rather keep the focus on some of them than me. I wasn't going to go, maybe that's where my age comes in, where I wasn't going to hurt myself when I didn't think it was going to benefit me.
Yeah. And was there as much of a focus like on the gender dynamics? I mean, we saw it a little bit in this season of Big Brother. We're seeing it on this season. I think I heard people talking about it a lot on your season, like at the beginning, but later on, as the number of guys kept going, dwindling, was there this like guys versus girls dynamic at all that you noticed?
Well, there was discussion of that.
Okay.
And the thing is, myself and a couple of the other people were probably a big part of dissuading that. Here's my feeling, my philosophy, this is the way I think. I never wanted to be looked at as being good because I was a female or I was older. You're either good at a certain thing just because you're good at it, regardless of your age, sex, gender, or whatever. So I always felt we should honor people for what they are good at and take away the male, female, race, sex, take away all that stuff. And actually, we talked about it all the time. Jamal, Jack, myself, Jason, Lauren, Tommy, we would all talk about that, and old Tom used to say, oh, isn't it great? Us old people, we're doing great. Keep it up. And I'm like, be quiet. Just take us for who we are and what we are.
Yes.
Take away all those, because I am a proponent of don't limit yourself. I speak with a lot of people when I do, a lot of charity stuff and speaking with especially young girls and women and older women. Don't limit yourself. Go out, do everything you can, challenge yourself, fail. Everybody should fail. Mm-hmm. And then just go in another direction. Yeah. So, yeah, I know I got crazy. Sorry.
No, that's great.
I love hearing this because it's really, inspirational for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people do need to hear that message.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talked a lot about that. And Jamal and I were actually going to go out on a speaking tour with that. And, it wound up not happening. And that's probably my fault because I got so involved in Give Kids the World charity out here that that took all of my time. But yeah, Jamal and I were going out and we were talking. We did a little bit about, just acceptance and not limiting yourself and having vision and, all of us things that we prejudge on all people, and all that stuff.
I love that. And I mean, that's obviously so inspirational. I would love to hear one of those talks if you ever end up doing it. But speaking of inspiration a little bit, can we talk about Nasir for a minute? What are your thoughts on Nasir?
I love him.
There we go.
I love him. Here's my thoughts on Nasir. Oh, poor Nasir. I don't think he's going to make it too long. I think he's going to make it longer than we all think. And it's going to be heartbreaking when he gets taken out. I think he's going to make it to like the top 7.
Ooh,
okay.
I would love that.
Question for me. Do you think Nasir is going to play the idol correctly or get voted out with the idol in his pocket?
I think Nasir is going to play it. If it's not correctly, he's going to play it for insurance. Like I played my first idol. You could say not correctly. But I also knew that I'm sitting there and everybody's back talking me, like I got an idol. I didn't want to walk off the stage, off the tribal with it. I think Nasir will play it because he's a lover of the game.
Oh my!
And I think he would never want to walk off with an idol in his pocket.
So I want to ask you, since you have played the game before, is there ever such a thing as a bad idol play? Because in my opinion, from a viewer's perspective, I don't necessarily think there is, because yes, you didn't play it where you got all the votes, but if you did receive votes, people were still gunning for you.
I agree with you. The only time I think there's bad idol play is when you give it to somebody else and you get voted off.
Yeah.
Sandra, what? But what my goal with it is, I want to see Naseer almost like play correctly and have like almost like a charisma style moment from your season. Just play, except don't vote for somebody like Janet, because that nearly broke my heart. But I would love that so much, is have everybody being like, Naseer's too good at this game. Naseer is too good. He's the challenge piece, everything. And then he's all down the dumps. He's like, wait, I've got something. Here you go, Jeff. And just here's
what I'd love to see.
Okay.
I'd love to see Naseer and Ricard get together. Because you've got the gameplay strategist and you've got the athlete that can carry it out. If they could get together, they could be a dynamic duo that nobody would ever think would be together.
My only concern is I think they're both really like deep thinkers, and I think they might like overthink things if they're together. Because I think Naseer, they're both very excited to be there. I think like they're some of the biggest fans in this cast, and like they just want to do everything and like make all these big moves. And I think they both together, instead of maybe like compliment each other, might just like add to each other. Yeah, I think they could. I mean, I also think they could be a force to be reckoned with, but it's also that force that could be a little bit too much.
Well, no, but look at Naseer. Naseer, when Danny and Deshawn brought him into a conversation, he was stoked to be part of that. So I think, as Janet was saying, Ricard is such a strategist. If Ricard's bringing Naseer into a conversation and Naseer feels, oh my gosh, someone really wants to work with me, is invested with that, we could see that duo working out.
It definitely could.
That's where I would see Naseer making a little bit further in the game if you have somebody like Ricard directing him.
Ooh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ricard would be the ultimate director and make it longer than Naseer, in my opinion. But Ricard will look at that as a shield and also as somebody he can align with and get further, in my opinion, if that happens.
And I think Naseer fighting, I like that he was included, first of all. I think that's like showing that his social standing within Luvu is improving. But I think the way he also pushed back against throwing the challenge, he almost like kind of was like gave Danny a little bit of an out with saying, hey, who could have an idol? Erica could have an idol. Erica, we throw a challenge, Erica has an idol, we are in big trouble. So I think it was so interesting from really all of them in their decision to, I guess, not throw it at the end of the day.
Yeah, but going back to where Naseer was included in that conversation with the other two guys, I was like, he blew it. He should have just said, sure, we'll throw it.
Ooh.
He should have agreed with them from the get-go, whether he wanted to or not. And I think that was a critical moment. And I think those two guys are going to remember that.
But what, you think it was bad for the fact that he didn't agree with them, or the fact like they didn't actually throw the challenge?
No, that he didn't agree with them. Taking it to back there. He should have agreed with them at the well from, oh yeah, you guys, this is a great idea. He should have lied, whether he felt that way or not. He's finally being included.
Yeah. My only concern is that we saw in the last challenge, I don't think he has that bone in him. So if he lied about it, he would still be beast mode in that challenge. And I really, Naseer, what the hell? You could have just told us you weren't going to throw it, and we would have helped you and won it. Because I think we saw Danny like kind of agreeing with him at the end of the day of like, yeah, you know what? Like Deshawn's still, I feel like, the only one who is like gung ho, throw a challenge, throw a challenge.
You can talk your way out of a challenge later if you throw it, because there was a big one where accused Kelly. Dan accused Kelly of throwing the challenge where we had to put the blocks. We almost won it, and that she stopped to tie her shoe. And he thought that was because we had been arguing about throwing the challenge or not. And no, it wasn't Dan. It was somebody else. I don't remember, but I remember that being a big deal about throwing the challenge or not. I don't know. I think Nasir could have talked his way out of it later, but he should have agreed with them at the well. I think that was critical.
Interesting.
Well, my thing with that is if he agreed with them at the well, and then also thinking about, yes, if we are going to throw the challenge, then just sit Nasir out and have Deshawn run it with them.
Mm-hmm. I think that could have been it. That's why I'm telling you, that's going to come back to bite him, because they're going to not feel like he's with them, because he was so hungry to be included. But he is such a competitor. He needs to just like breathe.
So
think about it.
Dissect this Lubu tribe just a little bit here, because if there's a shakeup coming next week, we're going to see some pieces moving around. We don't know how that's going to actually happen. But in your opinion, who do you think is actually the head honcho at the Lubu tribe, and who do you think is in trouble moving forward?
All right, I'm looking.
You want me to jump in?
Yeah, jump in.
All right. I'm
looking at him right here.
Right now, I'm thinking it's Deshawn, actually. I think Deshawn has been in nearly every strategic conversation we've seen so far. And I think when you look at who are the groups in this tribe, the big one is him with Danny. And I think Danny may be in a better position being that like backup, calming voice. But Deshawn's out there, I think, proposing things. Let's throw the challenge. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let me like tell people what's going on. So that's where I would say it's probably him. But we also don't know enough, I don't think.
Janet, it could be him, and they're going to make it look like they're targeting the female because of numbers.
Correct.
But I don't think that's what's happening in their real conversation. I think that's part of their conversation. But the other part of that conversation is we're still in the numbers. We can wait another vote or two. Mm-hmm. Keep her with us. That's what I think. And then they're going to target another guy.
I think, well, with that, going back to Deshawn, if you look at it, Erica's came to Deshawn, want to vote out Sydney. Deshawn then goes to Sydney and tells Sydney all that information about Erica coming for her.
Yeah.
So I think my thing is Deshawn has a ton of information, and it's whether he can utilize that information to help him move forward in the game. Mm-hmm. I do think he's savvy enough to do so. It's just you don't want to run into trouble where we've brought this up before. If Sydney goes to Erica and says to her, hey, I heard you were pitching my name, then you could see kind of it potentially backfiring. I just don't think Sydney and Erica seem that close with each other where that's going to happen, though.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It's going to be interesting. Really, what happens next week is going to be a very defining moment with what happens with these alliances.
Sure. Let's give the old Lyro camp at Yasa a little bit of love, because I don't think we've addressed them enough. And I think this group of 4 is so interesting to me, where you have the alliance of women, and then you have Evie with Xander, and Xander thinks Evie's his number 1. Evie and Lyanna are close. Lyanna and Tiffany are going pretty close. I'm just so interested by this. I mean, we see in the episode Evie talking to Xander and trying to be his number 1, which I think she's doing a good job of. And then Tiffany being like, hey, I'm worried about those two. Them going through Xander's bag even. And then the whole thing of, oh, let's tell Tiffany about the idol, and Tiffany's not buying it for a second, which I just find hilarious. But
I find that really hilarious myself.
Yeah.
But that's going to be by the way, I really like Evie.
Oh, me too.
I think she's awesome. And I think she's a good player. It's going to be so interesting. I don't see her bonding with Tiffany.
Evie and Tiffany?
Yeah. Do you?
I think she's done it so far. Yeah, I think she's done it so far.
But maybe not enough. I just think I think Lyanna's running that tribe, in my opinion.
Ooh, that was going to be my question. Who is?
I think Lyanna's running that tribe, especially with coming back with that crucial advantage that she now has. And that's the thing that's tricky about all this. It's going to be easy to get, I'm sure, but that's the thing. Everyone knows about Xander and everything that he has. And she spilled the beans about everything that Xander has to Shan, which also goes back to Shan knowing so much information.
Yeah.
I think what's so interesting, and it's almost a little bit like Luba, in my opinion, where I thought Deshawn is running things, but I think Danny's in a position. I still think Evie's running things.
I do
based
too.
on her having her finger wrapped around everybody. But I do think Lyanna's in a bit of a better position, being that backup, being the person who's not making all the waves, who's not like seemingly in with everybody. But my thing is, I think Evie's position is improving now that Xander has that idol. I think she benefits from it most because now Xander's with her because Xander has an idol. He's on Evie's side. Evie is his number one. Lyanna still trusts Evie as her number one. Tiffany, at the end of the day, maybe has Lyanna as her number one, but Evie's her number two, and she still wants Xander out. She really wants Xander out from what it's appearing after he lied to her.
But I think Evie's smart enough to turn that around to be like, come on, take a breath. We'll just keep him for his vote, that kind of thing.
So my question is, do you think that it was a bad move going all the way back to the Voce vote to get rid of Voce and not Xander?
1,000%. 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My take on that is also, I believe Evie is in charge, and I believe Lyanna is also flying under the radar, and she is definitely next in charge. And if Evie doesn't watch it,
I'm with you there. I'm so with you on that. But I just, maybe it's like being out there like for like over a week at this point. But how did Xander fumble this delivery of telling Tiffany had the idol so badly?
I don't think he fumbled it that badly. I really don't.
Really?
I think Tiffany just doesn't like him. And is identifying him as one of her kids, and that she had probably in wherever she works at.
Yeah.
And I think he's pigeonholed into she's not going to like him.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, sure, that gives him a bit of a tough position. But then at the end of the day, him saying, I found this morning, when it's clear the minute she looks at the note that you're going to show her, oh, wait, no, you said this stupid thing about butterflies like on day 3.
Yeah.
Like something that's so easy to get caught in. And somebody with Tiffany who, may not be like, I hate you, but she's not going to forget that.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's like Xander, I'm rooting for you. Come on.
I feel like they're actually a very similar person. I think Tiffany and Xander, personality-wise, because I think Tiffany is very just more outwardly cutting.
Yeah.
You know, she's tough. She's tough. But I don't think I think she's going to be her own worst enemy strategically.
I can agree with that. My thing, I actually am enjoying watching Tiffany play because she is so entertaining, but I do think she's a little bit chaotic, which I don't know how difficult that is to work with. And if you're in an alliance with them, because I think the issue could come is she too chaotic to keep around, where she might just go run off and do something that we don't want her to do. And that could then in turn hurt our games. So do you think how would you navigate this component? Because you seem to agree that you do think Tiffany is somewhat chaotic.
I would navigate closer to Xander, but that's my inclination. You know, I hang out with the young guys, you know, because they were like my lifeguards, you know, that's where I'm most comfortable, you know, so there's no threat there. That would be my inclination to do that. But I would probably totally lean towards Xander because for a lot of reasons. I think he's innocent enough that he can honestly, and this is going to sound terrible, but be manipulated down the road. I think athletically, you could use his athleticism to feed you and survive. You know, like Jack on our season, he could climb all the palm trees and get all the coconuts and breadfruit down. You know, I think Xander could be more valuable to live and get through things more than Tiffany would, in my opinion.
But just looking overall on the whole, would you rather have the player that is maybe more loyal to you, but also more erratic and like not a huge threat, but you don't know, like they're going to vote with you, but they're going to give you like a headache and make you sweat every time? Or do you have somebody like Xander who's like very low key, very like relaxed, but is like a big threat come the merge when all the challenges are individual, and more likely than not, is going to be a bigger threat to you winning the game.
I just
what would you
rather
rather have?
say though, I actually think Xander is loyal though.
I think he could be.
You can't take that away from him. I think he's been very loyal to Evie and sharing information with her.
I don't disagree with you, but I think as the game gets like down the road more, who's more likely to cut somebody? And I think the person who is young, who's like excited to be there, is going to be that person who's going to be like more likely to. I'm ready to cut somebody. I think it might be hard for him, and he might get played by somebody, maybe Evie, but I do think he's going to like try to make some moves and just by his pure stature alone be somebody threatening.
I disagree.
Go for it. Yes.
He's very much like Jack to me. And I think Xander just loves the purity of the game and the purity of life. I think he is loyal.
Okay.
I think I would much rather I feel I could beat somebody like Xander so much easier than somebody like Tiffany down the road.
Okay.
I think that's where when you're talking about strategy, that's where that overtakes athleticism.
Yeah. My one thing is when you get like to the end of the game, the players who are typically more erratic, who are not as erratic, they're the ones who are almost Nora in your season, Julie Rosenberg, I think Tai Trang is a big one. The players who are so capable, like who know a lot about the game, but don't always, who maybe get a little too paranoid or get a little excited and have all these ideas. And I think Xander, sure, like right now, I think is very loyal, and I think he has that young, like fun spirit, and he's like somebody I want to be friends with in real life. But I think he has that instinct to like really just want to play, and he's excited.
I think could see it. Predictable. I think his play will be predictable because when we were Jamal, Jack, and myself, we were in an alliance, and Jamal and I were like, okay, we're going to have to cut Jack at this point. You know, that's going to be the hardest thing that we have to do. And I know that Jack was thinking the same thing, but I don't know. For some reason, I think Xander will be outplayed at that point.
See, I agree with Janet on this stance only because I think.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I just think Tiffany is a hurricane waiting to happen. And
I agree.
The thing with Xander is I think he's very calm, cool, and collected. And I think he's also easier to read. Tiffany is there to play. Don't get it twisted because she's come out in some of her confessionals saying she wants to win. It's very, very clear. Whereas Xander, to me, all of his confessionals, calm, relaxed, and any conversation you see him have with someone, he stays low, under the radar. So I actually agree. Xander, to me, would be someone I would prefer to keep.
I think I would as well, because I agree with you completely on Tiffany. I think Tiffany's a hurricane and all that. But watch out for Xander. That's all I'm going to say. Watch out for him because I think he's going to try some things. He may not be good at them, but I do think he's going to try them. And we'll see. We can come back to this later in the season. I
love when people don't all agree on everything.
Oh my! Lauren, this is why you and I work so well together. But are we going to talk about the immunity challenge? Because I think at least the beginning of it.
Okay.
With them coming in, Ricard, like Jeff goes to Ricard saying it's like a really hot day, and Ricard beautifully setting up Shan and then sending up Xander for their phrase, and they're like, "Wait, who is it?" And then it's Nasir. And something I caught with the rewatch is when the minute Shan says her phrase, they cut to Nasir. Nasir just has the biggest smile on his face, which I think is like normally him, but you see him be like, "Oh, I'm going to get this idol. I'm going to get it." And then I just love it was kind of awkward the way he's like, "Jeff, wait, I'm as confused as a goat on AstroTurf," but it was just so much fun. And then the flashback, it was just, to me, beautiful editing.
He was terrible.
I'm watching it, and I'm like, I was like, wait, why did Xander say it before knowing that the third tribe had it? But he got out of it. And my friend, I was watching with a friend of mine, he's just like, wait, he's like, "Oh my God, Nasir got it." And we're just celebrating. It's like, all right, this twist is going to get used, and we're going to have 3 idols in the game. Let it be Nasir. And the whole sequence was beautiful. Him finding it, him seeing the words "beware," not really caring much about it. And then the flashback to his daughter hiding idols from him in their backyard. Like, how can you not love this guy? I'm sorry.
I like him. I like him a lot. I also think, and actually my husband was the one that said this to me, he could have walked in and said that without the other people even talking, and they would have known he had the idol.
Yeah.
Like if he had somehow been able to say that phrase before the others even said it, would have been more stealth.
Yeah.
And it was almost like he was like, "Oh, I gotta say this."
I just think he was super excited about it. And I have to admit, one of the best editing sequences we have seen in a very, very long time. It got set up so perfectly for it to happen.
It really did.
That's the other thing. I said it earlier in the podcast. How is no one from the Blue Tribe just scratching their head thinking, what is going on? And Deshawn should know somewhat what's going on because Evie shared that information with Deshawn. So I'm just stunned that we haven't seen any of that come to fruition yet.
But we don't know that it hasn't happened.
Yeah. We don't know that. We also don't know how much of it Evie shared because she told him, hey, Xander has this like three-way idol thing and he can't vote. But did she tell him what the phrases are, like what to look out for? And also, Janet, I'm just curious, like that was on what, day 3 or 4? When does your, like, I always hear players saying like they start losing a step, like with their memory and everything. Do you think that could happen on like day 11, for example?
You start at that time. Actually, that was a discussion that my husband and I had, trying to figure out where they were at with their memory and their thinking. Because he was like saying certain things, and I was like, all right, let me think where I was at that point. It's just starting to hit you at that point, the starvation.
And they're also in worse shape with like not having the flint, having a lot, not being given any rice.
You know what? Not having flint is not true, because look at how many tribes go days without flint. The Lyra on my season, it poured rain for 3 days. They had no food or fire for the first 3 days.
Yeah, I think that's the only way the players have gotten lucky this season is with not having a ton of rain.
Yeah. So again, it all depends, and then we were eating the seaweed in the water too. Fast salt.
Do what you have to do to get by, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They're definitely getting affected at this point. Their thinking is not as clear. And they're going to start feeling the physical. This is where you start debating, do I burn calories looking or do I not? What's the payoff?
Well, and see, that's why I did bring up the thing with Deshawn, only because Evie did share that little bit of information and you don't know everything that she shared. But if he's hearing phrases repeated multiple times with something, I would be a little concerned with what's going on that has to somewhat relate to some type of advantage. Yeah. Maybe it's not necessarily what Evie was explaining, but it has to correspond somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I would totally be like, what is going on? I'd be questioning it. Yeah. It would be a discussion back at camp.
I hope we see that. I really just hope they cut us back before they bring him into whatever Jeff's going to tell them next week and just hear that discussion from Lulu's perspective of what is going on at these challenges. I
kind of hope they don't realize it and Nasir just gets to go scot-free away with an idol. But
I don't know.
I don't think it's happening either. But we end the challenge. We see it's like they do the stupid ship wheel island twist again of, all right. I do like the way they're doing it of, all right, Yasa, you won. Sorry, somebody from UA is going, and then you get the pick. And I like that they sent somebody from their own. So we see Shan and Lyanna get sent there. And what was listen, them going up the mountain, talking to each other, getting to know each other, talking about the idol and everything. Beautiful. I loved it so much. Shan talking about her mother. Oh, that story got me. It really was like it was beautiful, and how she became a pastor and all that was just great. But then we get the whole protect and risk the vote thing. And like, to me, why are we doing this again? Especially when the players are able to talk about it. And they're like, oh, you just take it. Like, we've done this every time. Of why don't you have it? And it's like, come on. And that's not even getting to the twist of the whole thing, which I'm ready to rant about it, but we can get there in a minute. But Janet, what did you think of the whole ship wheel island for the 900th time?
I never would have sent both of those girls. I definitely would have sent Shan.
Okay.
And I would have sent somebody very opposite her.
Who would it have been?
I don't know. I would have
Tiffany.
picked
Tiffany.
anybody that I wouldn't think she'd bond with.
So what I have to say, one of the most beautiful moments, in my opinion, in the show's history. I love to see it. The story was incredible to witness as a viewer. But I do agree with you. They probably should have sent, as you said, someone that had just like opposite personality, because you can tell Shannon is very calm, Lyanna's very calm, and you can just vibe with that.
They could have picked anybody on both Luvu and Yasa. I think it's good to send somebody from your tribe so you have the information. Right. But then it's, who are you sending?
Well, that's
Xander has already had like the advantage and all that. Tiffany is very much a loose cannon, and you don't know what she's going to tell you. And then Evie already went out with Deshaun, so maybe you send her again. But frankly,
I would have. Can you send? Yeah,
you could have sent her again. But
I probably would have sent one of the guys that she would not like.
I mean, you would have sent Xander. That's the only person. On their tribe. But I think Lyanna also kind of like, it seemed like she wanted to go.
Well, she did.
Because she.
That's what she.
But I think it's one of those things of who on our tribe is going to say no, like you shouldn't go. You know what I mean?
How hard is it to dispute if a decision is made? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like, if no one's saying anything, and the one person's like, "I want to go." How did, like, with you guys and going to the Island of the Idols?
If somebody wanted to speak up, they could have. Like that's why Nora went, because she said she wanted to go before anybody else did.
But yeah, that once they say it, is it hard to like dispute them and be like, no, because you're the person who's telling them no?
You could say no and go to Rocks or go to the pick, but then you have to take the consequence of that.
Yeah, and being like the social risk I think you run of being that person to say, hey, no, I don't want you to go. For whatever reason, it probably isn't a good reason of, I don't want you to go.
Right.
So, Janet, would you have spoken up if you were on that tribe? Would you have said, absolutely not, like, let's rethink this and send somebody else?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a risk. I would have probably been, I probably would have just kept my mouth shut at this point. But it is interesting. I might have hopefully just been Lyanna and be like, can I go?
The game's getting too dicey at this point. And you're trying to make the merge, or what you think is going to be the merge, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's time to start playing hard. I mean, I played hard from the minute before I even got to the island. So.
Can we get it? So we see Sham protecting her vote, Lyanna risking it, and Lyanna gets this advantage. So just to set up what the knowledge is power advantage is, which I think has a great name and it's just a terrible, terrible twist.
I agree.
You get one shot to ask a player at tribal council in front of everybody, do you have an idol or do you have an advantage? And they can't lie about it. And then I think the worst part of it, besides the fact that they can't lie, which is already counterintuitive to Survivor as a whole, they have to give it to you. Which, Lauren and Janet, let me let you go first because I have a lot to say about it. So what do you both think of it?
Janet, go ahead, because
I hate it.
This kid's going to rant. So
I hate it.
I am.
I hate it at this point. Well, if you're going to play something like that, they'd have to play it now. I don't think it should be allowed later in the game. It's like the nullifier with 5 people left.
Oh my God.
There's nothing you can do against something like that. All the gameplay in the world isn't going that whatever she has, whatever that is called, is probably the most powerful thing I've ever seen.
So my question is this. Did it say when is the last time it can be utilized?
No, I didn't hear it.
No.
Okay. My other thing I would like to add, though, Shan's already done this without needing that advantage, so just look at it that way.
I can look at it, but then why are we handicapping the players?
They probably already had that advantage set up, not expecting someone on the season to have already done it themselves.
Okay, but that's what we want. It's interesting if a player finds out that somebody has the advantage and gets them to give it to them. You have to do some convincing. You have to do some bit of work to get it. In this case, there is no work, especially with Lyanna knowing that Xander has an advantage already, and like knowing how the whole twist works. It's like she's probably just going to go up if some version of Yasa goes to tribal council again. hey, Xander, you know what? I want to get rid of you. Can I have your idol? Yeah, and he has to say yes. How stupid is that?
And I don't think it's the same. I don't think she did the same thing. I disagree with that totally.
What do you mean?
I think she was strategic, and I think she did a lot of
exactly
the same stuff, but it's not the same as going to tribal council and having something like that happen, and you're done.
And it's exposed.
You're exposed, and you're done on luck. You're not done on gameplay. And that's
I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I'm just saying, like, Shan was so strategic enough to be able to do something like that on her own, where she got it from someone, where it wasn't an advantage, where she could just take it from that particular person.
No, I agree with that. And if she makes it to the end, that would be a huge resume builder for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this advantage is, if it's not used in the next one or two tribals, I think it's the most horrific thing that they put in the game.
Oh, I hate this more than Nullifier, and I dislike the Nullifier, because if you want to make this a decent twist, and I already don't think it's great because it takes out lying in Survivor, which is what makes Survivor so great. You can maybe say, hey, maybe in private, you can ask somebody like the same one question. If they say they have to answer you honestly, and that's it. You don't get the advantage. They can tell you know that they have it, because that's what knowledge being power is. Not, okay, I have knowledge, so does everybody else now, and now I have the power. The power is in the knowledge, not literally getting the power from somebody. Like,
that's
this
true.
is gonna screw somebody. This is gonna screw maybe Xander or Nasir or Shan even. I'm just gonna be miserable. This is horrible on every level. Like, what are we thinking? I don't know. It's like, the last episode was so good because we didn't have any of these idols and advantages. This episode was pretty good, and I still think it was the second best episode of the season. And then we have this, and I'm just like, come on, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And now it's like, I'm trying to remember. So Shan, Nasir, and Xander all have an idol. Ricardo has an extra vote. Xander has an extra vote. And is there anything? Lyanna has the knowledge as power advantage, and there might be one more. Oh.
Doesn't Deshaun have an extra vote?
Yes, he does. There you go. That's over half the cast have an advantage at this point. This is
everybody plays them at one tribal.
Yeah. That's the thing. And then they also have the shot in the dark.
Exciting. I mean, to be completely honest. And I know people hate advantages and all that. I am not opposed to advantages. They are fine for me. But just the amount all at once is a lot, especially because we haven't seen anything utilized yet. Yeah. I'm fine if this many advantages go out during a season, but if none are being used, and then we're going to get to a point where they're all used at once, that's going to be a really difficult tribal council to watch. And I just don't want to see someone get surreed.
Oh, but the issue is production likes that. I still hear Jeff talking like, oh, wasn't Cerise moment great? No. It sure, the moment that everybody had an idol, you laugh, that's funny, and then it's like, oh crap, we're losing arguably the greatest player of all time,
right?
Who didn't get a vote cast against her, who played Survivor well, and because she couldn't play Scavenger Hunt well enough, went home. And I'm worried we could see that to Xander or something. It's just like, come on, no one wants to see anybody go out this way, right?
I'm with you. It is going to be I think Lauren's right, though. It's going to, it's exciting, but it's going to be crazy if they all start playing. It's at some point, they're all going to come into play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Whoa.
I think it's going to be good. But also people have to realize what Jeff said at the beginning of the season, drop the 4, keep the 1. So they have to realize that there's going to be a ton of new twists and turns in the game, and if that's the direction Survivor is going in, it's just a different game. But I've heard people say this isn't Survivor. To me, it's still Survivor. If you're voting people out and they're going home,
I think it is
a jury at the end, it's still Survivor to me, and so that's never going to change. I know people are low on the season. Some people are. I am not. I love it, and I think that's just because I've been following this thing for over 20 years now.
Yeah,
I think people have a problem in general with change.
Yeah,
that's all.
And I think some of the changes that they've made this season are so good. Like, look at the number one thing, the cast. This cast is fire. I'm literally getting upset every time we lose somebody because everyone's bringing something so extreme to the table. And this is where I want to see, let them play the game. Last week, we had an episode where we got to see everybody play. This episode, we still got a lot of it. And I mean, just the dynamics at UA alone, seeing Shan almost like literally saying, hey, Ricard, you come with me. Let's talk about getting rid of Jeannie. Jeannie, let's talk about getting rid of Ricard. That was so interesting to me. Like, that's why I love this game.
Yeah.
And then now I'm worried about like, oh crap, are we going to have a tribal where somebody great's going to get taken out? Not by them playing badly, but by them not having the proper trinket.
Yeah. Yeah. And that probably is just a perspective because of gameplay. Like, because I was a swimmer and an athlete all my life. And that's like the order. But that doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we all have to remember. Just like what I say about accepting everybody for who and what they are, not their age, sex, gender, any of that stuff, but what are their talents? It's the same thing. It's a different perspective on the game. I personally don't like that part, but you know what? That doesn't mean I'm right.
I mean, we all love this game and come at it from like such different perspectives, and I think we all have like opinions that are so valid. But I think we all love the game of Survivor and like seeing these people, and that's what I think is such a joy of this season. Seeing these people, like we're talking like, oh, how much we love Nasir, we love Shannon, Ricard, and like Sydney, and this, and like everybody is like, they're all so interesting.
Yeah, they are.
I want to see more of them.
The social interaction's amazing to watch, and that's what I do want to see as a viewer, and that's why I love it so much that I took a piece from Australian Survivor where we're going into people's homes, we're seeing where they come from, what they do.
It is great.
That's been a big, a lot of people say, they'd like to have, even if it was another night like Big Brother, where you're seeing the camp life, where you're seeing the interactions. We all agree. Yeah. We all agree because that's where most of the game is played.
CBS, give Survivor 90 minutes already, but I don't think they're going to do that. But
we're talking about advantages though, real quick. This is one thing I will pinpoint. I think the way that advantages are being found and how people get them is definitely not equal at all. Because if we go to your season, Janet, if they went to Island of the Idol, saw Boston Rob, saw Sandra and everything, but like Elizabeth had to work really hard to get something. She obviously didn't get it, but then you have a freaking coin flip.
God.
That's what I'm saying. I just think that's what we're seeing with the summit. Every person did the same exact thing, but then this is the first round where we're seeing this new advantage come out, and all the other rounds it was you get
an extra vote.
An extra vote. And so that's my only issue with it is it's not equal at all.
And I agree 1,000% with you. Probably, I should say 1,000,000% that they're not equal in how you earn those advantages. I agree with that.
Yeah. But talking about like, and I'm just thinking of like this vote. How interesting was it to see a 3-person vote? And that could be, and yet you think with 3 people where one person is almost clearly on the bottom could be so boring and so cut and dry. How interesting was it seeing Ricard and Jeannie talking while Shan's at the summit, and Shan comes back and they're all like, wait, let's talk to Shan, and how open they were in this whole thing. And I think this dilemma that Shan had, and I think is so interesting to talk about. Do you go, like, at what point do you almost look more at the end game and look at Ricard as being the bigger threat, who kind of knows all your secrets, versus Jeannie, who you're not tight with, but you think she could be loyal, and she doesn't really know all your secrets. Like, what do you think is more valuable?
I would have gotten rid of Ricard. If I was playing and I was there, I would have totally gotten rid of him because he's definitely the more dangerous player.
Yeah. Good on him though, not giving up that extra vote. I love that. It's like, wait, you're telling me the same thing you told JD last week, and look what happened.
Yeah.
I thought he played that well, and was like, I need some bit of collateral.
Well, that's why I think he's going to go further than
Shan,
because he can see further down the line. That's why, and I think he was willing. There was no way he was giving that back to her. He had no problem saying it.
Yeah.
where I think she will have more difficulty.
Lauren, what do you think the right move for Shan was?
I do think, well, if you even listen how Ricard was talking at Tribal Council about him and Shan's dynamic with each other, that to me, if I'm sitting in Shan's shoes, all right, Ricard has some perspective about what's going on here. He's going to be more dangerous to me further down the road, whereas Jeannie's been loyal. I mean, she's written other people's names down, has been left out of the vote and everything, but when Shan has a conversation with Jeannie, you could tell Jeannie was genuine with Shan.
I think that was a big mistake. I think that could be a game-changing mistake for her that she didn't get rid of Ricard, by the way.
I think what's so interesting, though, is Jeannie's like loyal now, I think almost out of desperation. But I think Jeannie has bad blood with a little bit of bad blood with both of them from being blindsided previously. Where the minute they get to emerge, if it's her and Shan, she could just go along with somebody else and be like, you know what, let's get rid of Shan. I think that's a possibility. And I think maybe what Shan was worried about as well. That plus knowing that Ricard has had her back all this way and has her advantage.
Yeah, I tell you what, advantage. If he wasn't willing to give it back to her, then he's gone. That advantage is gone. You don't have to worry about it later.
And the thing with Jeannie is when she gets to with other people, is she's going to get intimidated and be like, oh shit, I got to do this all over again. I got to start making new relationships. And she's going to cling to the devil she knows rather than the devil she doesn't.
I don't agree with you there. I really don't. I think, because I think Jeannie I think there was more to Jeannie than what we saw. I really think she had that ability. And I think she's maybe not the most savvy in the way that she would go about it. But I do think there's a chance.
There was a chance.
There's I think a more than decent chance that if Shan kept her, maybe she's loyal for a little bit, but I think at some point she knows, you know what, Shan's power is, let me go make a relationship with other people who haven't blindsided me so far. And I think, so it's almost in a way, the devil you know versus the devil you don't in terms of Shan's case of, you know what, I know Ricard is sneaky, I know he's a good, but he's my snake. You know, and I have to get him before he gets me, but maybe now it's not the right time.
I think she blew it. I think that was her opportunity to take a big kingpin out. That could be a problem for her.
I think she missed it. That's completely fair. I think she was in a tough spot, as I think both moves are fair. But I think it was so interesting when Ricard was talking about the dynamic the three of them have. Ricard was like, oh, I create the plan. I set up all this, which I also think lower your threat level, first of all, but fine. Yeah. You create one. Shan's the closer. And Jeannie's just there being nice and loyal. And to me, that was just tipping your hand so much of like, Jeannie already knows she's voting you. Now you've just told her you're voting for her. You've given her every reason to not get rid of Shan, which I think almost should have been his play more so.
And then Shan is sitting there and could recognize, all right, listen to everything Ricard's saying. Guess what? Maybe now's the time where I might change my vote. But I have to give credit to Shan still. Her and Ricard, that conversation where they were in the water and she said, we're each other's number ones, right? Yeah. And they both agreed with that. And I think Shan is loyal to people that she starts with from what we've seen thus far. And I agree. I think it could hurt her, but we'll see what happens. I think that's why this season is so interesting because so many different variables and factors are going to come into play.
See, I think one of those two needed to go to benefit the other one's game.
Ooh.
I think Jeannie was the one to keep and get rid of one of those two, if I was one of those two.
Yeah. I'm so excited, though. Like, I loved all three of them, and I'm so sad Jeannie went. But I am interested to see how this goes with Shannon and Ricard trying to stay loyal to each other. They know, more so them knowing now how good each other is at the game. And I think Jeannie, why didn't you play the shot in the dark? I kind of wish he did just to stir things up, and then we have a 1-1 tie. And really, I would have wanted a 1-1 tie because nobody knows how that would have worked. But you know what? I can dream a little bit, right?
Yeah. I'm with you.
So goodbye, Jeannie. I
wanted her to stay.
Yeah. We finally hear Jeff say drop the buffs, and then they're like, you are, and he's just like, not exactly. So what do you really quick this before we wrap up this little part? What do you both think is happening next episode? What are they swapping? What do you think?
Go ahead, Lauren.
So this is me thinking out loud here. I think maybe they go to two tribes or something for maybe just a round or something just to spice it up a little bit, and then they merge the next episode.
Okay. Janet, what about you?
I think this is really like out there. I think they're going to keep the 3 tribes, but they're going to pick. You could get all mixed up within there still could be a tribe of 2, but whoever picks, you know what I mean?
Oh, so like an old like Marquesa style swap where the numbers stay the same.
The tribes, the numbers stay the same, but who goes into those numbers could change.
Okay, I have something a little different than both of you. I think we're going back to Fiji a little. You are going to live at the same camp, all 12 of you, but we're going to split you up into 2 groups kind of randomly, and you're going to go to tribal separately. And I think that could screw Shanna Ricard so much, and I'm really worried about it. But that's what I think could happen. I think they're like, yeah, you're gonna live together, so you're kind of merged.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're gonna compete as 2 separate groups for at least an episode. Because I think we saw, correct me if I'm wrong, with like the little wide shot they did of the challenge, we saw yellow and blue there. So they maybe for one episode they're like kind of 2 separate tribes, but maybe not. I don't know.
There's gonna be some type of mixing and mingling with this. We just don't know what direction they're going in. Definitely not a merge, but I do think the next round after this will be a merge.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's closer to the merge than not. All right. Are we all ready to maybe cut to commercial, take a break, and then we come back and rate these players?
Yes.
Yep, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck.
Researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great, and it's convenient and discreet. Products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, or even in the gym.
I am so happy that Lucy is sponsoring us. Ever since they came on board, I have gotten no less than 5 of my friends transitioned over to Lucy and put their cigarettes down. They like the gum. I'm used to seeing the packages all around. This stuff is great, and it's really helping people make much healthier choices. So get on board and join the Lucy movement.
Hey, it's 2021. Get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple that you don't even have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down.
Reality NSFW listeners, go to lucy.co and use promo code SURVIVOR to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co and use promo code SURVIVOR at checkout. Also, I have to give this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's lucy.co, and be sure to use that promo code SURVIVOR.
This episode of Reality NSFW is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us, Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom by offering chewable tablets that can help men get stronger and longer lasting erections. That's right, we're giving away super hard dicks.
Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men achieve harder, stronger erections to combat all forms of ED.
Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor offices, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it's all done online.
Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problem here. Blue Chew's sildenafil and tadalafil tablets are chewable. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy.
Hey, if you're looking to give that immunity idol to someone, or you don't want to be voted out of a crater, don't worry, Blue Chew's got you covered. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information.
And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use promo code SURVIVOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's Blue Chew, BlueChew.com, promo code SURVIVOR to receive your first month free. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
And we're back.
All right. Let's do this. Are we?
Now I know all about erections.
Yeah. Listen,
You can thank Johnny Fairplay for that.
I warned you at the beginning.
I will speak with him.
I warned you at the beginning that, hey, these commercials, got to prepare yourself.
But I got the Blue Chew.
All right. Are we ready to rate the final 12 people left in the game?
Okay. I don't.
I've got pictures
right
for
on.
you.
We bring up the pictures and everything. Yep.
Yeah, no. Let's do this. All right, so let's start with the tribe that won immunity this time. They won again, and that is good old Yasa, our little tribe before, the engine that could. Janet, let's start with you. What do you think about Evie, where she's at the game?
I love her. I think she's going to make the top 3.
Ooh. We haven't heard that take yet.
I could see it, though. I definitely could see it.
I think she's going to be in the top 3.
Awesome.
No, I want to get your take with that. If you think she's going top 3, who do you think she's riding it all the way to the end with?
I don't think anybody from her tribe.
Oh, okay.
I think she needs to get to the next step, get with some other people, and I think she's going to make the right connections and know what to do. I think she can make connections with anybody.
We agree there. I have a lot of belief in Evie. But Lauren, what do you have for Evie? What's your score for her?
So from the 1 to 10 score range, I got Evie at a 7, just sitting solid. I just don't see her going anywhere right now.
Yep.
I do think she has a lot of game, and she comes across to me as someone that's going to constantly continue to play hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've had Evie at a 8 in the past. I think she's playing a great game. I still think she's playing a really good game. My only concern is that I think Lyanna's playing a bit of a better game now. I think that brings her down a little. So I'm keeping her I have her at a 7 at this point because, like Janet, I see the path for her. I see there being a possible path. I just think now that path is a little bit tougher. Janet, what about you?
I think she's going to be I think a 7's a fair rating.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be critical what happens next.
So you're on 7, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Let's move on to the person that I know Lauren is really high on. I'm a little less high, but she's grown on me a lot. That is Lyanna. Lauren, you want to start with her?
I love Lyanna. Lyanna's great.
Oh, she's great.
I'll kick us off with Lyanna then, since she's at the top of my list.
Exactly. That's why.
And just a solid 8 for Lyanna. I think that she's going to – I know, Janet, you think that Evie's going to go top 3, but I think between the two of them, Lyanna is going to maybe take Evie out and just know the prime opportunity to do so. Ooh. And also, I mean, we talked about it. She has that advantage in her pocket.
Yeah. Janet, you want to go next on Lyanna? What do you think?
You go next.
All right. Okay. So I've been a little lower on Lyanna than Lauren has in the past couple of weeks. She's definitely growing on me as a player, as a character. I love her. I love the way she's playing. And I do think it's possible that she takes out Evie at the right time. I'm not sure. I think Evie maybe takes the move first. That's where I'm at. But with Lyanna having this incredibly powerful advantage, and now with all due respect, she is going to essentially have a free idol. Yes, people will know about it, but she'll have a free idol, which I think can help her make some waves. I'm going to have her at a 7 as well, actually. So I think she's in a really good position, is very capable. I could see her winning for sure, but I'm not 100% sure on her position.
Well, you guys might be surprised with me. I see her at a 6, barely.
Ooh, okay.
I think she's going to get taken out soon, and I don't think she's going to play the advantage correctly.
Wait, you don't think she's even gonna? Who is she at? You think she's gonna get cuter than asking Xander for it?
I don't know.
Or do you think she gets the idol?
It's hard to explain.
Okay. So the thinking is, I could see her get the idol and then misplay it, but I don't know. I think I think she has to get the idol. I think she's just taking Xander's idol and he's getting sent home soon.
Yeah, I see her misplaying it.
Interesting. All right. Well, we talked about chaos a lot earlier. We drew up comparisons to Nora. Janet, why don't you start with Tiffany? What do you think about Tiffany?
Okay. Here's where I didn't, we misjudged. Well, Nora won challenges at critical times. Yeah. So that's what saved her. I see her at like a 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think she's going to annoy too many people.
Okay. I'll go next with her. I'm doubling your score. I have Tiffany at a 6. I don't think she's in nearly as good a position as Evie or Lyanna is, but I think having that duo with them, I think she's especially getting closer with Lyanna, is really going to help her. And I think we've seen she's able to tell when people are lying, which I think is a big tool in her arsenal. Once the merge comes, she's not as big a threat to win the challenges. So I think she's erratic, and I don't know if she can win, how high her win equity is, but I think she can definitely make it far. And if she plays it the right way, I think she can win the game. It's a small odds, so that's why I'm at a 6 for her.
So I have Tiffany at a 5. I think, yes, super chaotic, and I think we can see that hurricane side come out, but I don't think Tiffany's in trouble to go home in the next episode, and I do still think that she's playing that loyal game at the current moment, but we see it in this episode in particular where if someone lies to her, Tiffany's coming for you.
Yeah.
It's going to be I can't wait for the next episode. It's really going to,
Yeah. I love the people that that found Survivor through Netflix, and now they have to wait every week, and they know the pain that we're in. Like, wait, I can't binge the whole season. But somebody I'm really excited to see how it goes for is Xander. Xander, I think I saw Jay earlier say Xander can't catch a break. I agree with him completely. He can't catch a break. He went from the bottom to the top to the bottom in one episode. But I gave him a little bit of a bump because he got the idol. But I still think he's in a shaky position because on this tribe, he's like the one physical threat, like the big physical threat left. He's one of the only ones in the game left. And I think come a merge, you're just asking to get sent home a little bit if you're Xander. But I do think there's a ability he can make some inroads, make some relationships. He seems really likable. That's what I think could see him. So I'm at a 5 for Xander right now.
That's kind of fair. I'm sorry, Lauren. Did you want to go or?
No, you're up. Go for it.
I'm going to give him a 5 too. I really agree with everything that you're saying about him. I think he's a really likable guy, and it really depends upon if he can not annoy people, not annoy Tiffany.
Oh.
So I have Xander at a 4, and Xander, I have to say, personality-wise and just the way that he's carried himself, super surprised me, especially from, all the preseason that we see of Xander. And I just think he's just in trouble because if Lyanna didn't have that advantage, I would feel a little bit better because Idol, finally active, finally get to be able to vote and everything. But now you have someone that knows about all your secrets, all your advantages. I just think that could really hurt Xander unless we see something shake up and Xander can get in with a different group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's one Xander, I think Xander and Tiffany. There's like a duo that I'm thinking of, and I can't pinpoint who it is, that like reminds me of like Xander being like the little kid who's kind of like annoying his mother.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's just going to annoy him. And I can have the followers true. That could be it. But I can't think who it is. Can either of you think who I'm talking about?
No.
Who that like do? If you think of like a, oh man, but all right, it's gonna eat at me, and I'll remember right when we're done with the podcast. But Lauren, what's your score for Xander? I didn't.
I had Xander at a 4.
4. Okay. All right. Let's move on to Luvu. Let's start. Janet, why don't you kick us off with Danny?
My internet's starting to get wonky here. There we go. Okay. All
right.
Okay. I like him. I'm going to give him like a 6 or a 7. Yeah. 7, say. I like him.
All right. Nice. I'm in agreement with you. I have Danny at a 7. I think he's in the best position of the people on this tribe. My only concern is he's a walking target. The merge comes. They don't know he's an NFL player, but they all know, like, oh, he's involved with football. He's gigantic. He's gonna he could literally throw half these people across the football field if he wanted to. So I think he's the big walking target, but I do think him being almost like the backup to Deshaun, like almost like Lyanna is to Evie, I think puts him maybe in a bit of a better position. And I think we haven't heard. And the reason I'm going to maybe give a little bit of spoiler, I'm going to give him a little bit of the edge over Deshaun, is because we haven't heard his name be brought up at all, with the exception of Nasir saying Danny's huge. Whereas I think Deshaun could get himself in more trouble.
Right.
So I think, Danny's, I don't know. Lauren, what do you think of Danny?
I mean, I love Danny from the start. I have Danny at a 7 because I think we've seen Danny make those personal connections and everything and talk through different scenarios with people. And someone has come with information to Danny, such as Deshaun, and say, let's throw this challenge, let's do this. And you see Danny pondering all of that information and figuring out what to do with it and how to navigate that. And I think that just showcases Danny's willing to work with anybody that's willing to work with Danny. And that's why I feel comfortable about keeping Danny at a 7.
I co-sign everything you just said. All right. Next up is me's number 1 ally. It's Deshaun. Janet, you want to start with Deshaun?
Yeah. Deshaun, I'm going to go with a 6. I think he's going to be a big target. I just think he is. I think that he's a little too vocal. He's good physically, but he's puts himself in the limelight a little bit too much vocally.
I think his intelligence is a double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. So I think he's a medical student. He's going to be the first in his family to be a doctor. That's incredible. But I also think he's not the best at hiding it, like you've said. He thinks about the game differently. He's so strategic. And that's my only concern is he might overplay it. Like when Erica told him, hey, I want to take out Sydney. What did he do? He ran to Sydney right away instead of I benefited from sitting on it a little bit. But I still think he's in a relatively good position, and that's why I'm at a 6 for him.
Well, I'm at an 8.
What do you think?
Because just to me, I think Deshaun, I think Deshaun has control. I think it obviously is him and Danny, but the reason why I say Deshaun is because everyone comes to Deshaun with information. Deshaun has the majority of information of what's going on that tribe. Okay. Now, his only downfall will be is if people start talking to each other within the tribe and say, I've heard this from Deshaun, and then information leaks. But I just said earlier in the podcast, I don't think those people are going to actually come together. And then I think Deshaun's going to be able to still be somewhat under the radar. I'm worried about him in the future of the game, but I'm not worried about him for next week.
Interesting. Good perspective.
Good perspective, but I do think they're going to start talking and be like, we have to get rid of Deshaun. Somebody's going to have to think it. But somebody people are talking about a lot all of a sudden over the last 2 episodes is Erica. And start with Erica real quick. I have Erica at a 4. Kept her the same as I had her last week. We didn't get really anything from her, we got the discussion from Danny and Deshaun of still wanting to throw the challenge to get rid of her, which isn't good. And the fact that they realize that she's threatening and like is like strategic and all that, I think it doesn't bode well for her. But the fact that they brought up the fact that she may have an idol, if she realizes she's in trouble and maybe fake it, that's interesting. And I think Erica socially seems really well liked, and I think type of merge or a switch could really help her. But my concern is Danny and Deshaun kind of have her head on and Sydney have her head on a platter, and they could start pitching to everybody else, and everyone's like, all right, you want to get rid of Erica so badly, we'll get rid of Erica so we don't have our numbers. So I'm at a 4 for her. Lauren, what do you think about Erica?
Erica, yeah. 4. I'll give her a 4. It's just, my issue is I haven't seen enough from her. We just don't know too much information. All we saw from her is her pitching somebody else's name, and then that person going and telling someone that's within their alliance that she pitched their name to go home. And if that's the only screen time I'm really seeing about a person, that concerns me a little bit.
I see her as a 2 for the same reasons. We haven't seen enough of her. We haven't seen her. She's a non-entity.
2.
Yeah. I haven't seen enough play.
I gave
unfair because of the editing, but we haven't seen anything.
I think I only gave a 2 when Brad was. Yeah, the only time I gave it 2 is when Brad was running around being a lunatic and telling everybody about everything. So I don't think she's there yet, but yeah, I agree. She is not in the position if they loses. If they stay in their form somehow and lose, she's not in a good position. But another person who maybe isn't in the best position in this tribe is Heather, actually, in my opinion. Lauren, you want to start with Heather?
I was hoping to see so much more from Heather, and it's just the thing, they haven't spent enough time on that beach, and so I know nothing about Heather. I don't even know who she's aligned with. We don't even know that. We haven't had a confessional where she said, I'm trying to work with this person and trying to navigate this. So I have her at a 3 just because I don't even know who she's with.
That's exactly how I was.
Jen, what about you?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I feel that we have not seen enough from both of these women to give a fair rating. I'm going to give her like a 3 also for the same reasons. I think there's a lot more that they could offer. We just haven't seen it.
Yep.
Yeah. I have her at a 4. A lot of the same reasons. I just think she's not, I would say, dead to rights. Like, she isn't being talked about much yet. Right. A huge threat. And somebody to take in, I think, as the merge gets closer, that helps her case a little bit, because she's clearly not winning much. If the previous reward challenges include, she's only competed in 1 immunity challenge the whole season, which is a little startling to think about. But yeah, I mean, we don't have enough about her. It stinks, but I want to get to know her more. But somebody we got to know plenty, and I also want to get to know more, is my boy Nasir. I love him. I love him. But game wise, I have him at a 6. So I think by the fact of him having an idol improves a little, but I do think he's still that like kind of star that like you're not gonna get the target off of him ever. Nasir, like everybody knows, Nasir's killing it at the challenges. He's strategic. He's thinking strategically. He wants to play this game so badly. Jeff was his dictionary. He's looking for idols, all that stuff. You know Nasir is a threat, but it's a matter of how helpful is he to your game and how long do you keep him. And I think he's in a decent position, not a great one. But I think the only reason I have him at that 6 is mainly because he is Bill and Deshaun doesn't. But yeah, that's where I think that idol can help him a little bit. But Janet, what do you think?
I'm going to give him a 7 because he does have the idol, and I just really like him.
Okay. If Nasir wins this game, I will be in shock because it doesn't seem like it can happen. But I will be singing happy days on this podcast after the finale, and I can't sing, so we'll see.
It'll be an uproar if Nasir wins. But for me, I have Nasir out of 6. That's probably the highest I've ever rated Nasir, and it's because has the idol now. I think was included in some conversations, which I'm sure he appreciated, but I still am just a little concerned because he has thrown other people's names out on that Lugu tribe, and we've seen it. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this next episode shakes up with all those different dynamics.
Yeah, fair enough. Or do you want to start talking about Sydney a little bit? We also got nothing from this episode. I think literally nothing besides her being a mermaid.
So we talked about this last week. I think Sydney's confessionals are great. She's hilarious to me. Has just she's fun about what she does. I think that Sydney's name has been pitched by others as a potential target, so that's a little worrisome. But I'm still going to have Sydney sitting there in that 6 range because she does seem to have that loyal alliance member in Deshawn, and I think Deshawn is pretty much running things with Danny at the moment, so I don't think Sydney's going to be targeted, even if things are kind of shooken up the next episode.
I'm going to give her a 5.
Janet, what do you think about Sydney?
I'm going to give her a 5. I really like her, but I think she's almost going to get in her own way. If she doesn't get out of her own way, she's going to be okay. But she's a strong woman, and I think she's probably had to use that strength to get places in her life, and she may try and force some issues on the island socially, and that would put her in a bad perspective. I like her. I'd love to see her go far, but you got to see where her social game goes next.
So Lauren had her at a 6, Janet had her at a 5. I have her at a 4, so we're just going down a little bit. Reason I like her a lot. I think she brings in like an interesting, almost villain perspective to the show, which is more often becoming heroes versus heroes, like I've said. But I think if you best alliance is Danny and Deshawn, she's clearly number 3 in that group. She's made no qualms about not getting along with Nasir. Heather has said she wants to target her. Erica now definitely wants to target her. And I think she is like that booming presence that she's there. She's talking to everybody. I think, like you said, Janet, I'm worried she can't get out of her own way. I think she still has like strategic chops to get a little far, but I don't see her winning the game at all. I really don't. And I think she's almost going to get too confident and get herself blindsided, which would be great entertainment. It would suck a little, but it'd be great entertainment. So yeah, I don't have much faith in her, and that's why I'm at a 4 still.
Oh, I think she's going to 100% get blindsided in this game. But I still like her, and that's why I'm not nervous about next week, but I'm nervous about down the road for her 100%.
But do you think she gets blindsided with a vote, like her getting sent home, or an ally of hers getting sent home, and maybe she wakes up?
Oh, I think an ally blindsides her.
No, I don't think so.
I think
she gets blindsided flat out.
Ooh, okay.
She comes across to me as someone
I could see that.
idled out.
Yeah, something.
Oh my god.
Weird. Yeah.
You would think I could see? I think I could see that her being the one saying, let's get Nasir. Everybody goes on board. Nasir whips out the idol, votes out Sydney.
Something like that.
How poetic would that be? How poetic would that be? We shall see.
Something like that's going to happen.
All right. And the tribe that is, I think, now become the hot mess tribe, that's Uatu. Jen, why don't you start talking about Ricard? Because I know how much you love him.
I do. I think he's great. I think he's really smart, and I think he's going to know what to do and how to do it. I give him like a 9.
Ooh,
I really do. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think he's going to know when to do it. I think he looks far enough ahead. He reminds me of Jason Linden from my season, who would have gone quite far, I believe.
That's a good take.
Okay. Yeah. I think he's good.
So I have Ricard at a 7. And the reason I have him there is not that I don't trust his abilities. I think, like, comparing him and Shan, I think he's always a little bit more out there than maybe I would like him to be. Like, everybody's, like, knowing, oh, Ricard's playing, Ricard's scheming. Everybody knows that. And everyone's like, at some point we have to take out Ricard. Like, that's on everybody's mind. And I think that come merge and people stop talking about, oh, we have to get Ricard out one day. I think he's in a great position and can go very far. Right now, I'm worried. He can get a few votes in, but I do think push comes to shove. I think, like I said earlier, I think Shan goes after him first. I think she would be a person who's likely more well insulated than he is. So I think he's a little more likely to make enemies. But I still think he's pretty damn well so far, obviously, to get there being a tribe of 2, keeping the introvert was obviously very, very smart. So I still think he's playing a really good game and is in a really good position. So that's why I'm at a 7. But Lauren, what do you think?
I also have Ricard at a 7, but my thing is this. Their tribe is down to 2. Him and Shan. And for me, They both have done amazing things. And as Ricard even said, they navigated to get rid of their entire tribe where it was just down to the 2 of them. And I just think it's going to come down to with who they get stuck with moving forward and who they actually have an opportunity to work with. So that's why I'm giving him that 7, because I do think he's savvy. I do think he's smart. I do think he's intelligent and is going to know when and to make those moves. But you have to be with the correct people in order to make those moves happen. And so I think it's just going to depend on who Ricard ends up with.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Ricard can make those moves, but I think, how does he make those moves and look like, oh my God, he just made that move? And I think the person who's executing that right now is Shan, actually. And if you both don't mind, I'd like to start with her. Because I'm the highest I've been on channels. I have Shan at a 9. I haven't given anybody a 9 yet. Like I said earlier, I like the move to take out Jeannie over Ricard, because I think Jeannie's a little bit more of that loose cannon, even though she's pledging loyalty and all that. I think attempting to get the extra vote from Ricard, not a bad move. I think having, though she didn't get it, I think having that little bit of ammo you can use against Ricard can help. Because they said, when I rewatched the episode this morning, I realized she said, "Oh, you'll give it back to me when I can vote again, right?" He said yes. So I think she's able to pin him in a little bit of corner. And I think the fact that they've been to 4 tribal councils, no one her name, she doesn't even have a vote yet, and no one's been thinking, should we get rid of Shan? It's like, no, we can wait. That's amazing to me. And I'm so impressed with the way she's playing. I love her. I really hope she goes far, and I think she can. And if you ask me right now who's winning this game, I think it's Shan, actually. So that's why I'm at a 9. Lauren, what do you think?
I got Shannon an 8. I think a lot of things that you said completely valid and true. I also want to pinpoint that new relationship that she now has with Lyanna. My only thing is she gonna get to be with Lyanna? Because if Shan is with Lyanna, I think those two are gonna become a pair and go in lockstep with each other, because any way that you can bond in a game with somebody is critical. And I think Shan is the greatest person at doing so thus far of what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm going to agree and give her an 8. And I agree with both of you. And I think it's critical what happens next. I like her. I think she's savvy. And I think she is also a candidate for the top 3. And I'm giving you the high sign.
All right. Janet, before we wrap up, I just want to thank you for being here. Who's winning this game? Who do you think is getting sent home next, and who's winning this game, Janet?
I think Tiffany's going home. And I think Ricard has a shot at winning.
Okay.
I like it. Let's see what happens. Lauren, you want to take us out?
Yeah, I gotta say too, Janet, thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a fun podcast. I always enjoy getting the perspectives and takes from people that have actually been out there on the island, and you can just give us those little tidbits of, oh, they're on this shitty island that there's no food, but you know all that information. I think it's great. You were a delight. So we absolutely love that you decided to come on with us this week.
I enjoyed it. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
And we hope to have you on again in the future.
Thank you so much, Janet.
This was so much fun.
All right.
Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait to see what happens next week.
Awesome.
Yeah. So with that, everyone else, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Reality NSFW. Be sure to check out all of our content that we have on our channel. Yesterday, we just did the challenge recap. Johnny and myself had a ton of fun breaking down that episode. And then also be sure to check out Johnny, Matt, Alex doing the recap of Survivor directly after the episode. You're going to get a mixture of that group of 3 each and every week. And then as always, Alex and myself will be back for the deep dive with some Survivor castaways. And if you like what we're doing over here, become a patron at adfreensfw.com. We have weekly Q&A with Johnny and Matt. They bring a patron on to interact with them and go through the questions. And they're also covering Australian Survivor at the moment. But be sure to check us out everywhere. And Janet, again, thank you so much. Alex, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we will see everyone later.
Thank you. Take care.
Good night.
Autumn is in the air. The pumpkins are in the patch. And our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure you don't carve your pants pumpkins when you're grooming, if you know what I'm saying. Make sure you're keeping things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming and their brand new 4th generation performance package. Boys, get ready for cuffing season like no other. Ready to take the leap into fall with Manscaped? Join the 2 million men worldwide using Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with promo code SURVIVOR.
Now, listen, I have had my fair share of mishaps in the past. And going into Halloween, the guys like to dress scary. The girls like to dress inviting. And as a result, you're bound to get your pants down if you do things right. Well, you don't want a big bush down there. You want those things freshly trimmed, shaved so perfectly. Don't use a razor. Go to Manscaped. It's the only way, or you will not be getting treats, but only tricks.
It's time to bundle up with the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies.
First off, the new Performance Package 4.0 includes the new Lawnmower 4.0. And if you're looking to cozy up this fall, this trimmer is essential.
Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It also gives you the ability to turn a 4,000 LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Plus, it's waterproof.
I hate shaving in the dark. That 4,000 LED spotlight, perfect. But the Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. So you use the Lawnmower 4.0 for your rear, use this for your ears. This nose and hair trimmer uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system to provide proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps against nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes.
Seal the deal with Manscaped's liquid formulations. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant. Everyone knows pumpkin spice lattes and ball deodorant go hand in hand.
That's all they're talking about at Target these days. It's crazy. Then after trimming the pumpkin patch and whacking the leaves, give your balls a boost and use the Crop Reviver. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and Shed Travel Bag. You see me on the road, I have the Manscaped Shed Travel Bag with me everywhere I go. Get comfy on the home and on the go this season.
So get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. Make your balls a priority this fall. Choose Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.
Promo code SURVIVOR. I've been trying to cut down on carbs, sugar, and unhealthy food and realize I basically can't eat anything anymore. I mean, I used to love eating that delicious cereal, but I can't. But wait, I can, thanks to Magic Spoon.
0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. That's only 140 calories a serving.
It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. Plus, build your own box. Available flavors to build your very own custom bundle are cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon, cookies and cream, and my new favorite, maple waffle.
Magic Spoon just recently brought back 2 super popular flavors, cookies and cream and maple waffle, just like you're talking about, Johnny, permanently. When these flavors were first introduced for a limited time, they sold out extremely quickly. You should make sure to get these again and try them for the first time. They're delicious and indulgent.
Every morning I wake up, I look into my cabinets. All I have is Magic Spoon cereal. I have all the options. And I'll do a little bit of I'll mix some cookies of cream with a little cinnamon, maybe cocoa and peanut butter. But oh man, that maple waffle just by itself is just something so spectacular. Hey, they're perfect not only for breakfast, but that guiltless midnight snack.
So go to magicspoon.com/survivor to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code SURVIVOR at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked.
Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/survivor and use promo code SURVIVOR to save $5 off. And thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this podcast.